risen from the sick, born and raised, mother, father, middle class family upbringing. Always taught you about the value of education, the value of, always keeping focus on what you need to do in this world and in this life, and how to make the world a little better, not just for your family, for everybody else, by your life choices. So my general approach to my family is the same. I'm sure it's the same as yours. I spend a lot of time, making sure my sons understand their purpose and that they're meant to do great things and understand the value of the family and the value of the education and how to better themselves. Like I tell them, everything's a process. One step at a time, you'll get there gradually. You're not going to win everything, but as long as you put maximum effort, don't ever hang your head. You just keep pushing forward. So that's kind of like how I flow on a general philosophy basis. But as far as background, like what I do and stuff.
Oh no, I mean, that's just a general question so that anybody who's tuning in and anybody who has to chat and have get into our discussions, we kind of know who we are and why we exist and why we're into this, and it's just knowing that this has come about. And this is something I want to do on a weekly basis, pretty much every Tuesday, 8 o'clock. And to be able to just have that conversation, be able to start relying and depending on each other, and take that African proverb, it takes a village, to do this, and a lot of times us as, black men, black kings, black fathers, dads, we kind of shy away from, sometimes, I know I've been guilty of it, of having that conversation with other men. We can talk about sports, we can talk about this, we can talk about that, but when it comes to talking about us as fathers,
I think I agree with you. I think that's kind of a missing component, and I think a lot of the younger brothers need to understand that. I know you have black fathers, but I don't understand just because you have the child doesn't mean you're being a father.
Right.
It's a whole lot of work involved in being a father. It's a full-time job too. Well, I see everyone's coming on. So
yeah, I see that. Ah, there's my brother-in-law, Edgar Milton Jr.
What's up, John? How you doing, brother?
I am good. Thank you for tuning in, my brother. Thank you for tuning in.
No problem, brother. No problem.
It is truly a blessing to see you and have you here. I also have on Mr. Cedric McKinney. I am.
How you doing, Ced?
All right, nice to meet you. Edgar. Pleasure.
Mm-hmm. And I believe one more person's coming on right now. Let's see. Who's chiming in?
Yo, brother.
Yes. I see it says Larry.
Johnny Griggs, what's up?
Is this Larry Ellison?
You know it.
My man.
How you doing, brother?
How are you, my brother?
I'm good, man.
Good to hear from you.
Absolutely. Same here, man.
Bingo. I see another brother tuning in. Just has him up as MS. Oh, that's Miss Rita. We have a young lady, and she's tuned in, and she's a co-worker, confidant, friend. We have discussions numerous on these topics and things that we discuss. Miss Rita, matter of fact, Daniel knows exactly who Miss Rita is. She works at the school.
How you doing, Miss Rita? It's like mom at home for her. We appreciate you, Miss Rita.
I'm doing well. I have to have my video off because my video will freeze.
Okay.
Okay.
Bingo. Wait a minute. I see Dominique's tuning in. Let's see.
Hey, also forgive me for not having my video on. I'm on 2 Zooms right now.
All right now.
Busy. I understand. I just appreciate the fact that you took the time out of your busy schedule just to chime in here and see what this BFDK is all about. I'm excited. I'm excited about this. This has been something I've been praying to the Creator about for a long time, to kind of put together, and He's, kind of giving me, or it's giving me the vision on what this is about. I was explaining that to Mr. McKinney, Cedric, if I can call him by his first name, and what the podcast is really about, and just the introduction to it, and the reason and the purpose for this podcast and the topics is, like I was explaining to Mr. McKinney, defining the black man's creation, purpose, and reason for existing. If the past 2 years or so haven't given us a kind of indication of what's our purpose, why we're here, why are we these BFDKs, what is the reason for this onslaught of black fatherhood happening right now, for ourselves and our families. And I'm just gonna go around, and I really spoke to Mr. McKinney. He gave me kind of like a background of himself and some discussion on that. But I want to go to my brother-in-law, Edgar Milton, if he has a chance. Just give me some background on you, my BFDK.
Yes, sir, my brother. Absolutely. Glad to be here, first of all. Yeah, my name is Edgar Milton Jr. A little background. Married 32 years. Two sons, 3 grandsons. Member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Also a licensed ordained minister, pastor. Member of Miracle Baptist Church in Plainfield, New Jersey. And also the co-founder of the network of Christian Men's Network. So God bless you. I'm glad to be here, bro.
Thank you. And to my ride or die, my running back from college, calling in all the way from Chi-Town, Chicago, Mr. Larry Ellison. Give us some feedback on you, my brother. And it's good, again, it's good to see you, man.
It's good to see you, brother. I'm glad to be out on there supporting you, man. And it's been a long time. Well, just real quick. Grew up in Jersey City, New Jersey. Went to Lincoln High School. Had the pleasure of playing football with this young man here, John Griggs. And through our time together and hustling, sweat, and tears, and coach's help, we were able to bring home a state championship. And there's nothing better than that. And then we were able to take the show on the road to college, which was a good thing. But for me, man, I'm just trying to get an idea of what this podcast is, and just heard a brief introduction about it. But I think the role of fathers is overwhelmingly important. It goes beyond our home or the kids that we raise. I got 3 boys, 1 girl. But I think that it impacts, or we have to be responsible for every young male that we see out here in this community. So anything that I can do to kind of help that and guide some of these kids in a more positive direction, I'm down for.
God bless. I hear you. Thank you. And to my brother from another mother, Sherman, he has tuned in, and Sherman and I, we go back a long time, with here in Piscataway, and my relationship with his family, and his 2 daughters are kind of like my goddaughters / daughters / I'm kind of like the one that like nudges him in the head, or sometimes Sherman be like, Griggs, can you talk to Dominique? Griggs, can you talk to Taylor? So I grab him, and me and him have had this kind of wonderful friendship, dialoguing with each other. So Sherman, just give us some brief info about who Sherman is.
Well, I don't really know what to say at this point, but I'm the father of two queens, beautiful wife Kendall, Taylor and Dominique are my daughters. Mechanical engineer for a living. I help assist with the Piscataway High School football team. I try to help out as many kids as I can to get recruited. I helped out a few.
More than a few, my brother.
I didn't get them all, but I tried.
More than a few. If anybody watches a Piscataway High School football video of any particular player or the actual team itself, I would say over the past, maybe 10 to 15 years?
Yeah, 15 years.
Any highlight that you see out there, this brother Sherman has shot that. That's his work. And, like he said, he's put a lot of time in when it comes to recording and videotaping and getting out those videotapes and all information for recruiting to a lot of the Piscataway football players, several of them whom you may know who have played at next level, NFL, D1 colleges. He's done it all. He's truly, really that BFDK on that end. He's like that. And, I love my brother Sherman. He's a good dude.
Thank you.
Miss Rita.
He's still in college.
Yes. Miss Rita. You still there?
Yes, sir.
Give us some brief background about Miss Rita, boy. You just did. Woo.
Oh. Oh. Okay. I currently work with Brother Griggs, and we work together at CHP. We worked together with a camp in Piscataway. That's where we first met. As for myself, I've worked in education probably most of my life. Excuse me. I homeschool my children. I have two sons, biological children, who are grown. So any children that come into my present belong to me. I believe in a village mentality. I mean what I say. I say what I mean.
Yes, she does.
I myself and a good sister friend of mine, we ran homeschooling for over 15 years. So I take education very seriously, especially of young people of color, not just young black men, but also young black women or females or girls, because they have to grow to get to those places. I am a track official. I wear many different hats, just to, whatever I'm needed to do, if I can do it, I'll do it. When it comes to our children, I am all for it, all in. I'm elated that we're having this podcast, and I wish I knew about it prior to one of the gentlemen picking up his daughter, which touched my heart, because I asked her, I said, "Oh, you got your nails done?" She said, "Yes." I said, "You went to a salon?" She said, "No, my dad did it." And I was like, wow. And I said to Dad, "I'm coming to your nail salon." He says, "Whatever, she wants me to do, that's what I'm doing." I said, "And you keep on doing it." This podcast probably would be so helpful to him and insightful to him. And he's a young dad. So hopefully we can get him on board also, for the next podcast. Thank you, gentlemen, for allowing me to speak. I appreciate this, because I really was not expecting to have to say anything. I was just going to listen to the brother speak and gain some knowledge. So thank you and good evening. And to my brother that's the Sigma, I am a Sigma sweetheart of many years.
Oh,
Just leave it at that.
he loves to hear that. He loves to hear that. Hey, listen, I just, again, want to I appreciate the fact that you guys took time out of your evening on a Tuesday night to tune in and just, find out what this is. Again, this is my first time doing a podcast. This is my first time kind of like doing this format, so bear with me. I'm a little nervous.
I had
I have
Good.
questions and comments and so much information that I just want to kind of like give out to you guys. One of the questions that I have here, and it's just really just random, and everybody can have a chance to kind of speak, is what example of fatherhood do you emulate, copy, and pattern yourself after? You know, and we can go around the room and, you know, unmute yourself. And again, just what example of fatherhood do you emulate, copy, and pattern your role after? We can start with you, my brother, Mr. McKinney.
All right, centric's fine.
Okay.
Centric's fine. That's fine. For me, I emulate my father. Actually, my father, good man. I mean, he passed away, but everybody loved him. He always worked hard. He started out with the Navy guy. After he left the Navy, it was him and my mother. They were married. Then he ended up like a welder with the college at night. Got his education. He ended up working his way up to like middle management for the Postal Service. You know, so just always a hardworking man, and make sure his family's taken care of, and also I give credit to him as far as valued as a man, but also I have to give credit to my mother as well. Because they were a good team, and my father, I guess I emulate my father. Hard act to follow, but I'm doing the best I can.
Hey, God bless. And you know, knowing your sons, you know, it is reflected on how they are, you know, well behaved, mannerable. You know, there's not a day that don't go by when I step in the CHPS, I see Daniel and I see your younger son, and first thing they say is, "Hey, what's up, Coach Grace?" And I'm like, "What's up, Daniel?" And I asked them, "How's the day going?" And they like, "It's going." Okay, boom, we're good. You know, my brother.
Appreciate you, Coach.
Thank you. My brother Edgar Milton. Just the question again is, what example of fatherhood do you emulate or copy and pattern your role after?
Well, I tell you, that's a very good question, John. It's the one thing I didn't say is that I'm happy to say that I retired from United Parcel Service after 33 and a half years. And the one thing that I've learned from that, and also my father, thank God, he is still here, even though he's slowed down a lot, is accountability. And number two, to try to show and make sure that if I say I'm going to do something, to do it. Because the one thing that I realized, procrastination goes a long way in a lot of things that we do. Sometimes we have the mind to want to do something and the spirit to do it, but at times, for whatever reason, it doesn't happen. And what happens is, through life, I realize having two sons and now having three grandsons is they're watching you. They're watching you, and most of what you say is it's going into their ears, and they're listening, but they're mostly watching you and seeing if you're going to follow up what you say you're going to do. When you say something, are you going to do it? Can they depend on you? And it's about accountability, and not only myself, but holding others accountable. That's the one thing I try to do right now, especially I do that more now that as I'm getting older.
I hear you and agree with you 100%. And I know that that's happening, you know, knowing you personally for all these years, and my nephews, and, you know, how you've been there as that father, and in that way, you know, it's a reflection on who they are and who you are, my brother. So I want to thank you for that. Mr. Ellison,
Appreciate that, bro.
give me what your example of fatherhood, and what do you emulate and copy and pattern your role after?
Well, John, you have to understand that's a very deep and profound question. And for those that had a frame of reference, I envy those. I grew up without my father, so I had to kind of piece that together on how I wanted to, be there and be the role model for my sons. So that's a deep question, and then it goes back to a whole lot of wounds in regards to that. But I kind of put it together from different men that I've met over the years. Coach Walker was a really big influence on me.
Yes.
Some of the life lessons that we've learned with that. My Uncle Marvin, who was actually my cousin, but because he was a little older, we call him Uncle Marvin. You know, a couple of, so it's just pieced together. And it all reflected upon me not wanting my kids to have that experience of not having their father, not having that frame of reference, that I made that commitment that I'm going to, you know, definitely be there, part of their lives, and pick up different things along the way that I felt was important, like honesty, taking care of your responsibilities, accountability, do what you say you're going to do, things of that nature. So that's how I put myself together as far as and what I want my kids to kind of emulate. But what's important to understand is that everybody doesn't have that frame of reference. And that's why I say reach out and touch as many young black men as you can, because you never know if they have a positive or strong frame of reference, because they may not be.
Right.
You know, so we all have a duty.
Got it. Our story is similar, Larry, and I guess you know that going back and from us being growing up in Jersey City together, and it's interesting. There's dozens of us in Jersey City that grew up around the time who have a similar, way of, coming about into manhood, not having that male there, but having a male there, someone there, maybe outside of our biological BFDK, to kind of like instill into us what we need to do as we move along in life as young black men. Let me go to my brother Sherman and just ask you kind of the same question. What example of fatherhood do you emulate and copy and pattern your role after?
I was very fortunate, John. I had my father in my life. He was a good dad, an uncle, and I had a village. Godfathers, and as I got older and became adult, I had my football dads. I had you and Malik and Jay Sharp and Stephen Shaw and Stanley Johnson, may he rest in peace.
Yes.
And all you guys were an example. So when I have daughters, so it's a little different with daughters, but I had you guys, and I would ask questions, and what would you do in these situations? And that village was a big help for me. There's no class on being a father, so you just got to go by asking questions and looking at your examples and learning as you go.
Yes, 100%. Well, my brother, it was just an honor to be around you and your family, and accepting my family into your family. And again, I look at Taylor and Dominique, those are my daughters, and they know when we have those conversations, they know I got to come to Coach Griggs correct. I can't come with him with nothing else, but they know that. And again, they get that from you, Sherman. You and your wife have done a wonderful job, with a wonderful job with, Taylor and Dominique, and it shows in the young women that they've become, and that they're growing into. It has truly been an honor and a pleasure to be a part of that.
I had some great examples. I tell you that. You guys were wonderful. You and I talk all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We talk with the dads, and we all share that one thing in common.
Yes.
Being a father.
Yes.
And we all think trials and tribulations with our kids, and having that village helps.
Yes. And that's what this is for me. This BFDK is the village, of black fathers, dads, and kings, being able to come together and share information and share ways and knowledge of where we are as black men, first of all, and then fathers and dads, and kings in our own right. How do we, take this movement going forward? Okay, it is the podcast. I'm kind of like the But this is your podcast. This is for you guys. This is for everyone who tunes in. Okay? Your input on how this movement goes forward is very important. You know, it's the basis of this thing going forward. This is just not a podcast. This is a movement. And you know, it's up to us to kind of like get it out there as a movement, you know? And not to exclude you, Miss Rita, but I'm going to ask you the same question. Kind of like flip it a little bit. What example of fatherhood / motherhood do you emulate and copy or pattern your role after?
I pretty much come from a matriarch family. I was not raised with my dad because of choices he made, and as a young woman, I started to learn why that came about. He made a choice not to be around, but I was around my father's side of the family, so he was the one that excluded himself. But he, from the time he was, I guess, elementary school, he had 7 brothers, and my father was an only male child. So all of his friends, his 7 friends, they called themselves the 7 brothers. I grew up with them, my uncles. I don't know them any other way other than being my uncles, and they were around. So I had the male role model as far as that was concerned, because they protected us and nurtured us, especially the girls. I didn't realize until I was well into my, 30s, 40s, that any of my uncles that had daughters, we were all daddy's girls. And, that that was an interesting dynamic, coming to realize that even though my dad wasn't there, and society saying, well, you didn't grow up with your dad, so you're going to be acting and performing in a certain manner. So taking those lessons, having sons, understanding that it does take a village. My sons belong to the village because I knew as a woman, there were things I could not teach them as a mom.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had no problem calling up the village and saying, look, this is what's going on. Y'all need to handle it and keep it moving. My sons I took them to drum classes in New York, and it was primarily all men. And I mean men, not males, men that took on the role of being around children, raising children, help raising my sons. And my sons are very much aware of that. One decides he doesn't want to have children, the other one says he does. And they know it's a responsibility. So I think I kind of did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
The women in my family, all educators, phenomenal, have, husbands, dads, uncles in your lives, learning from them, learning from the elders. I've always tried to be open to learning from anyone. So being around elders and listening to their stories and listening to what you should and shouldn't do, and learning from other people's mistakes. Because I surely wasn't trying to make the same mistakes, and understanding when I made a decision to have my sons, that it wasn't a decision that I took lightly. I knew what was out there. I knew I had a responsibility to raise my sons and not love them to death. And hearing that phrase, mothers love their sons and raise their daughters, and hearing that probably all my life, and knowing we cannot afford to love our sons to death.
Right.
And so using those examples around me on how to do that, all the men around me, even in college, wanting to understand how males think, young males, it's like, I know we're different, and I know we think differently, and I need these tools so that I can better help my sons, or just say, hey, you have to go see one of your uncles because I just don't know. Or you're getting to a point where I'm just tired, and I'm tired because I'm the mom, and they're going to handle you differently.
Exactly. Yes.
And being open to that, I'm finding, or I found that women or females, because I differentiate between the two. Just because you are of a certain age does not make you a woman, does not make you a man. Just a female or a male. But being around males who have been in relationships with females and they're having male children, and the females acting as if the males have no importance. And my question to the males when in those situations is, what is her relationship with her father?
Right.
She cannot be open to you disciplining the children, however you're disciplining them or raising them, because she didn't have a good example. She doesn't have a relationship with any male, so that's why she's responding. You don't count. And they're like, what? What are you talking about? It's like, just pay attention. She doesn't know. She doesn't know. She doesn't know. So I'm glad this podcast is, it hopefully will open up to women so that the women or females can have a better understanding of what a male's role is in his child's life, whether it's a male child or female child, because they don't know. If they don't have it in their family, and you gentlemen have been blessed to have had your dad in your lives, there's so many of us that haven't and don't realize the benefits of it. And we just carry on like it's nothing, so what happened? So what, he has a dad, doesn't matter. And you're not making him inclusive in that child's life, and it's detriment to him.
God bless.
And you suffer as a woman, you suffer and you don't realize you're suffering because you never had that, and you haven't learned what the importance of it is.
Yep. I just want to go. The person who just came in, can you just mute yourself, because I'm coming to you next on this question. Just give yourself a minute just to mute yourself. I appreciate it. Thank you.
What's up, my brother?
Now I see who this is. I see a face, but I gotta put a name to it.
Thank you. Put one to me.
I gotta put a name to it. Let's see. Now I gotta think about my memory here.
Yeah, go deep back.
Larry laughing because he knows who this is.
What's up, baby?
Hey, what's up, man?
You don't remember you, man.
I
You act
know
like you don't
JC, my brother.
Is that John?
Yeah.
No, not my man John.
What's happening?
What's happening? What's happening? Look at this. We listen. You got to understand, those who are tuning in and seeing this brother and Larry Ellison to tell you about Rocky Mountain College in Billings, Montana. We are 3 of the only 5 black athletes that were on campus. It's us 3. Me, Larry, John, and there were maybe 2 others. Out of the 5 of us, we were the only ones on campus in Billings, Montana back in the late 80s, around 88, 85, somewhere around there. So, hey, it is great to see you, my brother.
Yeah, Johnny, you looking good, man.
Yeah, well, we all, I guarantee you, if you guys let this grow like this, it'll probably look the same.
Larry can't grow no hair on this face.
Yeah, he never could. He never could. He never could. But I want to welcome you. I want to welcome you, my brother. How are you, man? You good?
Yeah, I'm doing all right, man. Yeah, I found me a little trade.
Okay.
I'm doing machining. So,
okay.
Things is looking up. It's looking up. It was kind of down, but it turned around.
Hey.
You know what I mean?
Listen, we go through this, and the thing about it, John, we built for this, man. We are built strong and tough for this thing to happen. But let me just introduce.
Yeah, but if I can stay 3 years out there in Montana.
Yeah.
I can deal with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Hey, but let me just introduce you to everybody that's here. Miss Rita, Larry, there's Sherman, it's my brother-in-law, Edgar, June, Milton, and Cedric, Mr. McKinney. You know, we are all here. This, John, is the Black Fathers, Dads, Kings podcast. I'm going to be doing this, and we are going to be doing this on a weekly basis, every Tuesday, 8 o'clock, for us to just sit down and have this conversation. Okay? To have these conversations. But John, I want to ask you a question that I went around and asked everybody. What example of fatherhood do you emulate and copy, and that you have patterned and you have a role after? Who did you pattern your role after being a father?
Well, first of all, I'm gonna say my uncle. My uncle, his name was Al Covington. He dead now, but he was a brother that you know, he came up through the ranks. He worked for Firestone. You know, he worked there for like 20-some years. You know, and then he went. The Firestone sent him to school, and he became their best mechanic.
Wow.
So after that, he said the hell with them, and he left Firestone and opened up his own business. And see, I was one of his nephews that he brung in. I used to go down there and watch cars when I was in high school. Right after I got out of school, I go down to Aurora, Illinois. You know, that's like 20 minutes from Elgin, where I live at. And I used to go down there and watch cars, and I used to just watch him all the time, you know. And that was the role model that was set in my mind, because, you know, he went from working for somebody to working for himself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
God bless. God bless.
Yeah, so therefore, you know, I looked at that, you know, as, you know, a real big stepping stone, you know, especially as I got older. You know, I can look back and see, you know, that, you know, this man, you know, because he always used to tell me, he said, John, stay in the books. He used to say, kid, stay in the books. Stay in the books, you know, because he used to support me when I was playing basketball and football and all that, you know. So I was, to me, seemed like one of his little favorite nephews, because he always used to joke and, you know, want me to come down there, because then none of my other cousins would go down to the room except me.
There
so
you go.
I always just want to go down there, you know. So, but that is the role model that embedded in my mind. My uncle, his name's Al Covington. Been gone for 10 years, God bless his soul, but, you know, I look at his version of life, and, you know, I want to try to imitate that myself, and it'd be a little bit reaching for me, because doing, you know, machining, that's a real big field, you know what I mean? So, you know, you got to have a lot of capital to run to have your own machines, you know what I'm talking about? So, that's what I envision as my, you know, like, person I look up to, or resemble my life to, my Uncle Al.
Okay. For everybody who's, you know, kind of giving me, you know, your answer to that question, and all of it has been accepted, and I gravitate to all the responses, I'm going to ask myself that question. You know, what example of fatherhood do you or I emulate or copy or pattern, you know, this role after? For me, kind of similar to Larry, growing up, my biological father wasn't around. I always tell this, I may have seen him in the capacity of maybe 6 to 7 times in my life. You know, interesting thing is that he was a musician, played for a very famous entertainer, you know, traveled the world. It's funny, I could be back in the day, remember when the Midnight Special used to come on? Soul Train, American Bandstand. I could be sitting there with other family members of mine, and we could be watching, and like my cousin say, yeah, that's my uncle. That's my uncle. And I'm sitting there saying, yeah, that's my father. I see him on TV performing, but I would rather have him at my football game.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'd rather have him at track. I'd rather have him being here present, you know. But I understood, you know, later on in life, that was just him. So for me, it was really based on my grandfather. He was that example. You know, my grandparents kind of adopted me when I was, 7 to 8 years old. And Pop Joyner, for those who, knew him in Jersey City, he was that strong figure. There are only, 2 men that I've ever said that I've ever kind of like feared and had a respect to them. Larry knows who one of them is, Franklin Walker, and the other one is Pop Joyner. And again, it was not just fear, it was fear of respect, because I saw he did it by example. He wasn't a person who talked a lot, but when he spoke, you knew it. He wasn't a person who was going to mix match words, very basic, very sane. And if he looked at you and had to look at you more than once, it wasn't going to be pretty. But the other side of that was that he was very loving, very caring, kind of said, and I had him when I was, a young person. He passed away when I was 17. And, from that point on, I said, okay, however this manhood thing is going to kick in, I got to take those values and what I learned from him and move forward in life. And now being a BFDK myself with 2 boys, 29 and 30 years old, 4 grandchildren, 4 Larry, 4 grandchildren, 3 granddaughters, 1 grandson. And I can tell you, there's a lot of, mannerisms and things that I say and I do with my boys that were reflections of those men like Otis Joyner, my grandfather, and Franklin Walker, our high school coach. I still have those looks and those conversations with them, and again, it's just taking all that you guys have said and how this question was asked and answered, I'm absorbing all of that and going to use that going forward, as this BFDK, and I would believe as for, you guys and ladies, take this going forward. We want to do this, and I want to do this, every Tuesday, to have this dialogue and ask these questions. And if anything that we can gather from each other and take with us for those 7 days until the next time we sit and break bread and have this conversation and zoom in and talk to each other. And I want to be able to check on each other, because we are black men. And I know sometimes it's hard to open up and have those discussions like, hey, things ain't good. Mentally, physically, emotionally, and we need to be able to zoom in, and young and women, Miss Rita, and have these really, 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 kind of open conversations, allowing us to be a little vulnerable, and talking to each other and creating this community together as BFDKs. And now, Miss Rita, as women, I mom, dads, I call them, dad, moms, I call them, your input is...
I call my mom, my dad all the time.
Yeah, your input tonight, Miss Rita, was invaluable. We it was something that I think we all, as BFDKs, needed to hear. And I appreciate that, and thank you for tuning in. And with that, this podcast is only going to be going for 45 minutes. We are at the 42-minute mark. Okay, I'm going to open up the floor for anybody to have any comments, anything that questions, concerns, things that, you want to talk about. The floor is open for the next 3 minutes.
Well, number one is I got to get you my number and info so you can stay in contact.
Bam.
It's been too long, my brother.
Definitely.
Too long.
Definitely.
And the next time I come out to Jersey, I'm going to definitely hunt you down.
All right. I'm there. Larry's probably mad at me because I think Larry was in Jersey about 2 weeks ago. And he texted me, we were playing in the state playoff, and we were playing a team that we played back in the day, and Mr. Ellison had one of his best games against that team. So I figured he would want to show up for that particular team, which was Westwood High School. Larry had 200 plus yards rushing.
Come out there with him.
Yeah.
I was supposed to come out there with him, but I ain't make it. Come out there with him.
So I will exchange numbers with you, my brother, and get you my information, and I get yours. And again,
Right.
for all of you, again, tuning in to this next Tuesday, 8 o'clock. You know, if you eating dinner or you sitting down having your time. I didn't want to do it on a Monday night because football, hey, I get it. I didn't want to do it on a Sunday. We got church, football on Sundays, and Saturdays, you know, those are your activity days. You know, so I figured Tuesday, 8 o'clock is a good time. 45 minutes just to break bread and
Right.
if we need to pray with each other and bring about this manhood thing of the BFDKs. Listen, I'm going to be playing some music. You know, those Jersey guys, you know, Illinois guys, you know, we house heads. We play that kind of stuff. We playing some
Right.
music. Hey, and anything that when you zoom into this podcast that you want to bring, you know, hey, say, hey, I got this. This is going on. This is what I want to do. I need ideas. I want what it is that you want to bring to this, because this is just not BFDK. This is yours.
Gotcha.
This is open to everyone who zooms in on Tuesday nights. You know?
I want to say something real quick. You know, forgive me for not being able to have my video on earlier because I had the two Zooms going on. But check this out. Number one, John, this was definitely ordained to happen tonight. The other webinar that I was on is my fraternity. We had a webinar with AARP, and we were talking about caregivers, men as caregivers. Hello, John. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Because that's what you are. But the funny thing was we had one female speaker who happened to be the director of the AARP. And guess what her name is?
What?
Miss Rita.
Ah. See how that works, Miss Rita?
Yeah, so
All right.
See?
her name is actually Miss Rita, I don't want to pronounce it as Colo, Choula. Little pronunciation, but I was going back like, wow, this is amazing here.
Hey.
It was just a name for you to have it, bro. So I look forward to it. I'm going to take the webinar that Kathy sent me. I'm going to share it to our brothers on Saturday for men's Bible study and share it to some other brothers.
God bless. I greatly appreciate that. I greatly appreciate that.
And Sherman, good to see you, bro.
Yes,
Good
yes.
to see you, my man.
Hey, this is a movement.
I go way back, right?
Yes. This is a movement, my brothers, you know, and I'm here, we're here, support anything that it is that, you know, we want to do with this, you know, and again, we're going to have guests on. You're going to have times where, hey, you're going to lead in this podcast. You're going to ask the questions, things that you may need to know and want to know, you know, and put out there. However we want to do this. Again, this is the first one, intro to it, the launching of it, and I want this to grow to something that we all can attain to. One of the things that I'm looking forward in the future, hey, you know, for those who have daughters, we're going to have that BFDK father-daughter dance. We're going, hey, why not? You know? And we're going to be able to get together and have these kind of events where we bring our children, male and female, and
So what you saying, Greg? I gotta come to Jersey?
hey, listen. This thing gets to where God wants it to go. We may have to come to Illinois.
Well,
Hey.
okay, you gotta talk to Larry.
Hey,
Don't escort
we
you.
listen. I don't put a hold on nothing that God's gonna do.
I understand.
My arms ain't big enough for that. If God's gonna do it and He's gonna unleash it and take it where He wants it to go, all I'm gonna do is just get on board and ride with it.
Right.
That's all I can do.
All right, brother.
I want to get on board and ride with it.
I don't have no problem coming up there because that'll be out there for me.
Yeah, but I want to thank you and Larry for tuning in all the way from Illinois, Chi-Town, and everyone who's here, who's tuning in. Sherman, June, Edgar,
I ain't got no
Cedric.
choice, man, Come
Hey,
on.
I know Larry was gonna pull you.
Buddy, man.
I know that. I know that. Miss
Come
Rita,
on now, man.
I want to thank you, and we got to chime out of here. And again, Tuesday, 8 p.m. BFDKs. You know, put it out there. Same link.
All right.
All right. God bless you all.
Take care now.
Chime out.
All right, everybody. Nice meeting everyone.
Peace and blessings, man. Thank you. Thank you.
Rings.
Yo,
Get my info from Larry.
got it. I'll do that.
Okay.
Bingo.
All right, peace and love.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.